CGTN's Gen Z program, The Chat Room. I'm your host, Yang Xinmeng. You can watch our live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Chinese Weibo, Bilibili, WeChat, Yangshipin, as well as CGTN's official website. Also, please join our discussions during the live by sending in #GreenPlanet and leave your comments on our social media platforms. And we are very honored to have guests from different countries and regions to discuss the trending topics with us. Please allow me to welcome our wonderful guests today. They are Andrea from Romania. Hi, Andrea.
Everyone, nice to see you tonight.
Can you give us a little bit introduction of yourself?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm currently the Global Alliance of University on Climate ambassador from Tsinghua University. And I'm very passionate about talking anything about climate action and finding new ways that we can live more sustainably. And I thank you very much for being with us tonight.
Thank you for joining us. Welcome. And we also have Renato from Brazil. Hi, Renato.
Hi, Abby. Good to be here. It's a pleasure. I'm Renato Penelope. I'm doctor degree in public administration in China. I've been working with GYLD. I'm a member of the Global Youth Leadership Dialogue, and it's an honor to contribute to the debate about the environment.
Cool, welcome. And last but not least, let's welcome Mustafa from
Master's degree in nuclear engineering and management at Tsinghua University. This is my second year. It's really a great pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Thank you and welcome you all. We are very fortunate to have such a diverse group of experts. Well, you probably all know that G20 Summit will take place tomorrow. And this year, the theme is One Earth, One Family, One Future. So it emphasizes the interconnectedness of all life forms on Earth and the greater universe, and highlights sustainable choices at individual and national levels for a greener future. So today we're going to talk about the green planet. Now let's begin with recent natural disasters. The world is experiencing more intense and more frequent extreme weather events, droughts, storms, wildfires, and heat waves. We've seen a record-breaking cyclone in Southeast Africa, wildfires in North America, heat waves across Asia, and more. And just last night, Hong Kong was flooded. I'm sure you saw it on the news. There are a lot of videos and photos online. I mean, the city streets are just turned into raging rivers by the extreme rain. So it's already clear that the climate change is happening here and now. So I would like to have each of you share your perspectives on the environmental and societal impact of these disasters. Now, Andrea, why don't you go ahead first?
Absolutely. I think it's really terrible that there are so many impacts that the environment is facing. And many people, they have a sort of blindness to it in some ways, because they don't see how this is either impacted by climate change or by environmental changes from human activities. But I think the consequences on the social, on society, and also on the economics aspects of many different areas is one of the most important things that we can use to make people understand why it's important. Many people might say, oh, it's not my responsibility to take care of the environment, or it's not our action, but we can maybe make them understand the impact it has on poverty and the consequential displacement that it has on people, and that it might have on us, on everyone very soon as well. For example, right now, poorer areas are the ones that are most affected by it, because they, with time, obviously created a situation that makes them more at risk, because they didn't have enough resources, they didn't have enough money to maybe build more sustainable infrastructure. So for example, right now we are seeing that some underdeveloped countries are maybe facing more drastic consequences of this disparity. And I think we also need to think of the increased number of climate refugees that we will have with time. So this is just one simple way to show people that this climate changes, this environmental impacts are actually impacting everyone. And it will rather happen soon, that it will impact also more developed countries. And now you just talked about Hong Kong floods. I'm currently in Italy. I don't know if you know, but I grew up in Italy, and basically some areas, they are more impacted by earthquake and also floods. We had many floods in the last 5 years, more than we've had in the last 20 for sure. And while this impacts very drastically, and some families and some people are left with nothing, I can also imagine that in much underdeveloped countries, the impact is much greater, and the number of people being affected is even much greater. And now we are also seeing it impacting even more here by impacting more areas. So I think it's very important for everyone to start noticing these things and starting comparing, because it's going to impact everyone sooner or later. And yes, that's my impression about this topic.
Thank you. And you mentioned climate refugee and also displacement. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yes, absolutely. So when thinking about climate refugees, it's a term that is often used nowadays in media, in some political debates, but at the same time is not a widely recognized term, in the sense that it's very new. And there might be also a lot of debates on what is a climate refugee and who can be named a climate refugee. Was that environmental situation really caused by climate change? Why should we care about climate refugees if it's happening in their country? And I think it kind of sparks also debate on why we should welcome climate refugees. But once again, it just shows how the disparity is actually impacting more people in underdeveloped countries than developing countries. And the developing countries, in my opinion, should support these climate refugees and try to help underdeveloped countries create this infrastructure that is maybe missing, or support climate action and climate damage prevention in that kind of way.
All right,
Yes.
thank you, Andrea, for that thought-provoking perspective and showing us how the environment is really impacting each and every one of us. Now, Renato, I would love to hear your thoughts on the consequences these disasters have had on our environment and society.
Eddie, thank you for having me again. It's like very nice what Andrea just brought. I think it makes the debate even richer. When we talk about like this drastic change there happened just recently, for example, like Greece and Brazil, just like 2 days ago, also went through some floods based on some rains. We also had fires on Hawaii and Canada. So this is affecting like direct like agriculture production. As she well said too, like we're talking about poverty. As poor you are, more like exposed you are for the dangers of it. Just for us to have a perspective, 78% of the people in the world, they're poor. They're in the environment in the rural areas. So like droughts or like floods tend to affect them straightly because they depend on nature relation to produce their food, as fishing or in agriculture. So this is very hard on economy worldwide speaking, because people are getting unable to produce their food or to have basic water to drink. So it's really a dangerous fact that's coming. And when we bring about the environmental refugees, this is like, it's coming to attention more nowadays, but like Africa has big histories about huge migrations of people because of the change of the drought, like lack of food, and also like South America. In Brazil, we have like a constant migration from the northeast to the southeast because of the droughts there too. So this is already a tradition. This is already something that happen often. Bangladesh is expect with the higher of the seas to have to migrate. Like it's more than 200 million people that will have to come to China or India or Myanmar. We don't know, but that will be conflicts for that, because where are we gonna feed so many people? So when we talk about economy, we're talking about a big movement of people like having to migrate, looking for resource, looking for food. So this is a straight impact on the world economy. COVID was like a part of this impact. Like COVID affected the economy worldwide, like very strong. And just for us to understand, like G20, it's trying to step for it. Like G20 is where like 20 countries plus, like actually it's 19 countries plus like the European Union come together to debate what's going on with the financial system and the economy in the world. So they're trying to prove since last year that they're really effective, that they really can create some action on time. And we are talking about 80% of the world GDP or 2/3 of the land mass of the world. So it's really like a group of countries that can make some action, that can make like the world like one. And as you well said, like we're talking about one family, one world, one future. So these depend on like the combination of factors. So like we will have to talk about technology, we will have to talk about like sustainable development. And sustainable development, like as we all know, it's about economy, it's about environment, and it's about people. So how to bring these three elements together to make sure that, for example, sustainable development goals, we have all this like needs to be solved, so we can like have an economy flowing in the best sense for everyone. And environment is not like making easy, and like we are really suffering the impacts of the global warming. And there is change. There is already like some signs, like there are movements on the patterns of energy. A lot of, for example, like most of the development countries have been adopt renewable energy, but how to use renewable energy when you depend on nature and the climate is changing. So there's also a risk on this sense. That's when like our colleague here that talks about nuclear energy can maybe express some of his knowledge about it. But there is a risk even to make renewable energy very unstable for us to use. And without like energy stability, economy gets in a risk, and any solution becomes even harder. I think for now, like that's the best I can contribute. I think there's a lot of estimatives. There is like a big impact that the environment is suffering, lack of food, lack of energy, migrations. These will all impact us, and we have to get prepared. And I really hope for the G20 to like elaborate more and like really can take action. There we can like, there right now we have BRICS and G7 coming together to work. Both are working a lot of policies and financing to like sustainable development goals. So I really hope this weekend we get like better news and like more perspectives for the future.
All right, thank you, Renato. Yes, G20 countries, they account for 80% of the global greenhouse gas emissions. So really, we hope that in this weekend we can see some progress. They can really elaborate like a solution on this issue. Now, Mustafa, I would like to hear your insights on this.
I just want to say that climate change is overarching crisis that has unleashed a cascade of effects on our world. As global temperature continue to rise, we witness a proliferation extreme weather events, from hurricanes and typhoons to wildfires, heat waves, causing widespread destruction and loss of life. But recently, the retreat of glaciers and alarming melting of polar ice caps contribute to the increase in sea levels, putting coastal cities and vulnerable regions at risk of submersion. Climate-induced shifts in precipitation patterns and disrupt agricultural systems, and leading to food insecurity for millions. while ocean acidification trends, the very foundation of marine ecosystems, impacting fisheries and biodiversity. Furthermore, social and economic ramifications of climate change are undeniable. So that's my ideas. Also, I just want to talk about a huge disaster, actually, which is Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant accident. So
Yeah.
it's a huge disaster. It happened in Japan, 2011. It was caused by a massive earthquake and tsunami that hit the country, resulting in the release of radioactive materials into the environment. The earthquake, with a magnitude of 9, exceeded the design parameter of plant, causing severe damage to its infrastructure. As a result, the normal operation of the reactors was disrupted, and leading a chain critical failures. Firstly, the release of radioactive materials prompted the evacuation of approximately 160,000 residents from surrounding areas, minimize their exposure to radiation. This displacement resulting in significant social, psychological, and economic disruptions for the affected individuals and communities. Additionally, according to Japanese government, estimated total cost of the accident be around 200 billion US dollar. Moreover, the environmental consequences of the accident were substantial. The release of radioactive materials contaminated the soil, water bodies, and marine ecosystem. Agricultural lands were rendered unusable, and fishing industries in the region were severely impacted. The long-term effects on public health and the ecosystem continue a concern, with the ongoing monitoring and cleanup efforts. The accidents also underscored the need for transparency and accountability from power companies and the importance of protecting the health and well-being of affected communities. The Fukushima accident highlighted the vital role of international cooperation in nuclear safety and disaster response. By examining the international perspective and lessons learned from the Fukushima Daiichi accident, we gain insights into the significance of international cooperation, policy changes, and safety improvements in the global nuclear industry. In response to the accident, the International Atomic Energy Agency created an action plan on nuclear safety, which was approved by the member of that organization. The action plan outlined a work schedule for bolstering the international framework for nuclear safety. A lot of work has been done to globally improve nuclear safety in addition to the action plan. And also the critical aspect of government responsibility was to conduct a comprehensive investigation into the accident. It was crucial to identify root causes, evaluate regulatory framework, and implement necessary changes to prevent similar incidents in the future. These included reviewing safety protocols, strengthening regulation, and enhancing emergency preparedness in the nuclear industry. Yeah, that's my ideas. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for your expertise. I'm really glad that you brought up Fukushima, which is one of the hottest topics globally. Thank you for introducing not only its impact, but also what we can learn from the disaster. And I know that Andrea has also been following this topic. So Andrea, what do you think of the Fukushima water release?
Absolutely. I think it's a great topic and it's for sure going to be discussed also at the G20, like it's been discussed for the past week. I believe that I'm no expert in nuclear water releases, of course, but I do also think that we have many resources, a lot of knowledge, and I just it brings me to wonder if there were better ways that it could have been handled. I think that right now we have many technological solutions that can make up for something better. So my question would be more, could we do something better than just releasing our damage into the nature? That would be my only concern is, okay, the government says it doesn't affect that much the water around it, the fish is not affected. But do we really know long term what is going to happen in 50, 100 years? How that's going to be digested by nature itself? We don't. So what can we do to make it better? What can we do that would avoid a risky situation? So yes, that's my only observation about this. I think it's just it happened right now, but for the future, what can we do better is what we should think moving forward.
Okay, thank you. Yes, it is said that according to a Japanese report, Japan had 5 options to tackle this water problem, including, I remember there's vapor release, there's hydrogen release, and underground burial, but they just chose to go with this discharge into the sea, the fastest and cheapest option. So yeah, we've explored the impacts of recent disasters. Now let's delve into how to reduce these impacts. You know, a vital aspect of disaster mitigation and fostering a healthier environment is green development. Because on one hand, by transitioning to clean and green energy, we can significantly reduce our reliance on fossil fuels and diminish greenhouse gas emissions so that we can mitigate climate change and intensification of environmental disasters. And on the other hand, you know, green development also focuses on sustainable urban planning, eco-friendly transportation systems, and the conservation of natural resources. So through these, we can reduce our ecological footprint and enhance the resilience of our communities in the face of future natural disasters. And there are many, many types of green energy. So I'd love to invite you to share some new clean energy that you know, and some important initiatives or policies related to green development in your countries or that you have met in China.
Absolutely. Yes, I'll go first. Well, there are many, many new technologies that I cannot even think to begin to mention all of them. But I think one of the biggest things that I see right now is definitely wind turbines. When I was a child, I used to go on road trips and see them in Germany or in Austria. I used to see so many of them and not so much in either Romania or Italy. But now it's, and I used to be very fascinated by them. I was wondering, wow, I wonder how they work and why it's only here. But now I can see more and more of them. So that's really great. So that's one of the observation I had about it. And I also saw many in Tianjin, both wind turbines and sun panels. When you go on the highway, right, you can see so many of them just from the highway. And I also think one really interesting project that I saw is there's companies that are creating sun panels that are easier to build and to incorporate into your apartment. So if you're living in the city, you don't have, let's say there's a building with 20 floors or something like that, you can just plug it in into your home and just put it in your balcony. I think that's amazing, like a smaller panel, sun panel that can reduce, I believe the study said it can reduce 50% of the energy that you're consuming. So I mean substitute 50% of the energy you're consuming. So I believe that's really great, and it will be very awesome to see how that can evolve and how it can get to more people. So I think while there are many solutions that we can see for renewable energy in really big fields, I think the next step is going to be how to scale them how to make them smaller and more accessible to people that are living in urban environment, and how to make it adaptable to urban lifestyles. So I think that would be quite interesting. And another thing that I find very fascinating is hydrogen energy. And I know they're building many transportation modes, like motorcycles that are started by hydrogen energy. So I think that's really interesting. I saw some of them in Beijing, not being used outside yet, but I think that one of the big industries that is going to take over in China is definitely going to be hydrogen energy. And then in terms of here on the Europe side, I think that for policies, there have been many new developments. We have the EU Green Deal that is being updated every year, so that's really great. And I think it's really good that in the European Union there has been a collective sense of, let's get this right and let's agree on the EU Green Deal, and that every year it's being updated. And even if government changes, even people change their mind, there's always going to be a collective sense of, oh, we are working to make something greener, to make our lands greener. So I think that's great. And there's also obviously carbon policies that are being implemented more and more. And I think on that sense, the relationship between research, knowledge of carbon impact and carbon policies has been very good. So moving forward, I hope we can see even more of that. Yes. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. I think, the smaller solar panels is really a good idea, because, solar panels are really common in rural areas. I visited Xinjiang, I visited Xizang, Tibet. It's very common. The rural areas, countryside, they are all using solar panels. But I mean, in urban area, it's not so common because of the size. So if they can make it smaller, it will be much more convenient. So thank you for that. And Renato, what is your new clean energy?
You guys were just commenting about the solar panels. There is a type of solar panel that impressed me, which is a very simple technology with the black background, usually used just to heat water. This has been a revolution of saving energy and saving space and making accessible to poor people to like this type of technology. And in China is very popular. I think like most of developing nations are also very popular. This really caught my attention. Another type of technology that I really enjoy is like hydro energy, which has like a good potential for the future, especially for clean energy. Like most of the cars that we have to take out of oil, right? Hydrogen can be a big solution. I guess like it's even interesting to bring like a fact, like in 2019, the World Bank it made an estimative that until 2030 we could like have like the need of over $90 trillion on infrastructure investment, and this is all based on like energy, renewable energy, and like new energy like type of source. So this is a potential of new jobs, a revolution on society, a change on society paradigm. Because as we were saying, like renewable energies, there's so many like source, so many different technologies, and they are useful according to the geography, according to the location. So this is the thing that like get me more on like renewable energies. It's how like we can find the like appropriate technology according to the location. So this it has really been exciting. One of the excitements that I see a lot is in the electrical cars. I don't think the batteries is still like mature enough, but it's a growing market and it's really changing the geography of the cities. It's taking pollution out of cities. And it's being excited. It's been creating a lot of jobs, and it's creating a lot of like change in the city.
I think his network has a bit
Yeah,
problem,
maybe
right?
yeah.
Okay, Mustafa, you go
I
ahead.
can go on. From
Uh-huh.
different perspective, also, I would like to mention about a new type of reactor, which it has been developed for China. Also at Tsinghua University, we have a test reactor. This is the high temperature gas reactor development model. We call it HTRPM. Is an innovative nuclear reactor design renowned for its unique features and potential contribution to sustainable energy solutions. Its distinctive pebble bed configuration containing spherical fuel elements allows for efficient fuel utilization and high temperature operation, make it suitable for both electricity generation and industrial applications like hydrogen production. And also Andrea mentioned about the importance of the hydrogen production. Also, we using of this kind of reactors, we can also produce hydrogen. And in China, in particular, has been a pioneer in HDRPM technology with successful demonstration projects showcasing its modularity and scalability. While challenges remain, such as cost and regulatory consolidation, the HDR-PM offers a promising path forward for nuclear energy and combining clean power generation with the potential to drive green transportation in different industrial sectors. And also, I just want to give small details about it. The China is using helium in that kind of reactors, but rest of the world, as you know, they're using the water. And also, I mentioned in Fukushima accident, because of the radiation released, because of the core, the reactor melted. But in this type of reactors, there is no core meltdown. So the safety is, is really important for a nuclear sector and almost, I think, for every the clean energy types. This kind of reactors is there is no core meltdown. That means that if any accident happens, there will be no radioactive materials relation. It happened, in Fukushima accidents. So that's why this kind of reactors is really important for clean energy types and for rest of the world. Yeah, I hope I.
All right, thank you so much.
I hope I explain less detail, giving less details.
Yeah, HTRPM, that's a new concept for us, but thank you for showing us. For nuclear energy, safety is, of course, the priority issue, and what we are doing right now. And welcome back, Renato. You seemed went offline for a few seconds. Do you want to come pick up from where you left?
If you can give me a clue, where did I stop? I was like finishing. I was finally noticed that there was some problem.
As hydrogen vehicles.
All right, yeah, there's a growing increase in the market of hydrogen. They're expecting till 2032 to come to $60 billion. And just last year, they reached the house of like $1 billion. So it's really like a change on the urban geography. We're reducing smogs, we're reducing the sounds. Also, electrical vehicles is making a big change. We also have the same positive impact. Also, we have a issue that the batteries is still to develop. I think it's still a lot of there's a lot of room to improve this technology, but it is creating a lot of jobs, creating a lot of change on the scenario of the energy use. Batteries, for who doesn't know about it, batteries has a key role to play on this new scenario of the energy change, because as we see renewable energies deal with environment, so be able to store energy can make a big important transition. So batteries will be a key thing in the future, and I think that's the contribution I can do now. I kind of lost my point, but I think that was enough. Yeah, sorry.
All right. It's okay. It's okay. It's good to have you back. Well, thank you. Thank you, everyone. So for your sharing. Now, before we move on to the next part, I just want to emphasize that as we talked, green development is not just a concept or a buzzword. It is a call to action that requires collective efforts from individuals, organizations, and governments, because after all, it is a community with shared future for mankind. And this is where the power of our young generation comes into play. So let me ask all of you, what can youth do to contribute to green development? How can we make a real difference?
Of course, thank you for the question. I think that for us that we are still related to university and we are still going to uni and studying. I think one of the best ways, first of all, to understand what we can do and try to spread the word once we have learned is to join similar communities. One way that I found was by joining the Global Alliance of Universities on Climate and joining more initiatives after that has opened my let's say my horizon into what I can do. And I think that first of all we can learn, we can understand, and second of all I think it's to put in practice as soon as we can, not only in our let's say long-term plan, but also small actions in our daily life. I think one of the biggest problems that we have is our consumption problem. Obviously, I like having objects, I like having many things, I like having many clothes, but we need to be a little bit more mindful, because I think sometimes, especially with our generation, we fall into many marketing traps that make us want to buy even more and have and own many things. And on one side, yes, of course, it's really fun to experiment with what we have, with what we wear, but at the same time we also need to think what impact it has. Maybe think twice, do I really need this? Will this really be useful? And yes, and one other thing is to not fall into fast fashion traps that it really happens very often, and me myself have been a victim of this marketing plans. But I think with time you start to understand that buying maybe one pant instead of two that will last me much longer is probably better, and start to understand that when you live in between countries, you also understand that you cannot always bring your objects, so you start to be a little bit more detached. So that's not something for everyone, but I think with time you start to understand and ask yourself, do I really need this? Will this be really beneficial? So I think overall having a more mindful approach to purchasing and buying of things, it's really great in the long term. But it's also, I think, one of the things that I always mention is that there's many brainwashing marketing initiatives as well to make us feel bad for buying. So it's, I think there should be a balance between being very mindful and buying things like whenever we want, because at the end of the day, it's not only our daily actions, it's also what big corporations are doing. So I think that, yes, we should have more mindful purchases, but at the same time also ask big corporations to give us more mindful choices. Is how can you make this big corporation and these big retailers understand that we want more mindful choices and more sustainable choices? It's not only one-sided, it's two sides that would have to collaborate and understand the needs of the planet itself. So how can we produce and buy more sustainably, not only buy more sustainably? Because right now having very sustainable lifestyle is also not monetary sustainable for some people. So we need to start asking corporations to produce sustainable things that are more affordable as well. So I think that's also a bigger debate that's very complicated. But there are many ways to start conversations with corporations as well. And then I think the last thing is also to be more mindful of our consumption, food consumption is one of the things that I started being more mindful about as well. I wouldn't say I'm completely vegetarian. I think that's a little bit unrealistic when you are living your whole life like that. But it's very important to start understanding the impact of how much consuming meat is actually impacting the planet. So I think that's the last point that I would like to mention, is to be a little bit more mindful about our lifestyle, and understand high carbon emissions, where they are coming from, and how can we start like a movement to make corporations understand that we will like things and products with less high carbon emissions. I think that's it. Yes.
All right, thank you, Andrea. Very, very practical suggestion. Be mindful about everything. Think again before the actual action. And to echo what you just said, I was reading, our online comments on YouTube. There's a YouTuber audience named Han Tua. He mentioned the 3R principle. Recycle, reduce, and reuse must be the mantra on a personal level. So I think this is an echo of what you just said. And now, Renato, from your personal level, what do you think that youth can do to help?
Well, there's a old saying already. It's already getting old, let's say. Think global, act local. This has a lot of truths on it. Like, if we think about every society, it's a huge group of small communities. We got to understand that it's in the small communities that we have to start showing people that global warming is happening. And it's not like a mythological thing. It's not like just idea, but it's something that's already happening. Connect the disasters, show people that like what's happening is already like the global warming happened is a big step. And I think like we should also analyze our history, our local history, what's going on. Is the innovative like actions in the small communities that can really make a change. I think like there is no such a thing as a small gesture. Every gesture is big, especially if you scale. So it's like this discussions, is this debates, it's like people reflecting, thinking about what it needs to be done on the group, like the grassroots, on the ground, that like we're gonna really make a change. Corporations has responsibility. I think governments has responsibility. Everybody has responsibility. We're talking about our house. We don't have a second house. We don't have a second planet. So we shall like really take action, like starting from our house, like little gestures, like what you eat, where you eat, like what you buy, from where you buy, what destiny takes your garbage. Like observe how much garbage you create, like how much of this garbage can be reused or can be recycled. Like there is a lot of things to be done, starting on ourselves, like on little gestures or little understanding of how much our lifestyle impacts on nature. So I think again, like thinking global, understanding that there's already like a huge impact, a huge consequence, as we quote in the beginning of the show, already like floods and wildfires. So like we already living this moment. We're already like feeling these consequences. So how to connect this to my life? How to take small actions that like at least I'm doing a drop. Everybody doing a drop, we have a sea of actions. So I think that's how we're gonna make a big difference on this whole scenario.
All right, thank you very much, Renato. Now, to those of you who are watching, this is the chat room. We are talking about the green planet, how our responsibilities in building a green planet. Now, please join our discussions during the live by sending in #GreenPlanet and leave your comments on our social media platforms. Now, let's get back to Mustafa.
Yeah.
How do you think youth can help?
Yeah, okay, I can continue. As young people, we can play a pivotal role in fostering in harmonious coexistence between humans and nature through a multifaceted approach that then encompasses sustainable practices and responsible energy choices. By embracing eco-conscious daily behaviors like reducing, reusing, and recycling, as well as advocating for renewable energy solutions, they can significantly contribute to environmental preservation. From my department, from nuclear energy, while accompanied by concerns like waste management and safety, holds the potential to provide a consistent, low carbon source of electricity. The ongoing development of advanced nuclear technologies and stringent regulatory measures look for to address these challenges and improve the safety and efficiency of nuclear power, encouraging informed discussions, supporting research into safer nuclear options, and engaging in policy can empower young people to help meet the world's growing energy demands while minimizing the environmental impact, thus driving the green transformation toward a sustainable future. As a young generation, I think we need to look for new clean energy sources by minimizing the environmental impact. And so those are my ideas as a young people. Yeah.
Thank you very much, everyone, for your suggestions to the youth to contribute to our green development. Now we have talked about so much on how to build a world where human and nature can coexist harmoniously. Now I'm eager to hear your ideal vision of the world we live in. I mean, we come from different parts of the world. Andrea is from Romania and is currently in Italy. Mustafa from Turkey and Renato from Brazil. I'm in Beijing. So which place on the earth do you think that best reflect your ideal image of the planet? Andrea.
That's a very hard question, I think. Well, there's no place that's like, let's say, perfect in which I would say it's the most in line of how I think humans should live and interact with nature, but maybe I can give some small like examples. I think I really love Rome because it's, let's say, it's an ancient city, it's an ancient town, it has very historical buildings, but at the same time it has a lot of green. I think for me, the places that I love big cities that have a lot of green, let's say. I think Qingdao is also a really great example in China because the architecture is kind of built around the nature, around the sea, around the hills. So I think that's really great. It looks really nice. I think it's amazing. It's an amazing city. Definitely not Beijing. It's not as green. And I think it's still, it has to make some improvements in giving itself a little bit more nature. From that side, I think Beijing could be a little bit more inspired by cities like Singapore or Hong Kong. Singapore, it has a lot of green, I think. It's very sustainable, and it's on the way to become even more sustainable, and it has done immense work in having green policies implemented. And also I really admire how they're using technology to implement more nature and be a little bit more carbon neutral, let's say. So I think those are some great examples that of places that I would like to live in. I cannot live for a long term in the countryside. I grew up in the countryside, but I think I like how fast and how many things happen in big cities, but I would not be able to live long term in a city with no green. So I think something in between.
Okay, gotcha. And Renato, which place is your most ideal picture of the planet?
That's just like a beautiful question. That really make me think a lot. Like I'll try to give a reference based on place that I've been. There is, I think, two extremely opposite places in the world: the Amazon forest and the Himalayas. So, like, I've been to the Amazon forest, deep forest, like for about a month in a mission once. And one thing I could see it, like how the water is the source of life, how forest is the source of food, and like it's just wonderful to see like how people like really live deep in connection with nature, how like ancient and common tradition was aware of how to do that well. But when we talk about the Amazon forest, it's a lot of rain. It's like fertile soil, like beautiful forest. So it's like sort of, it's not easy, but sort of easy to find food. You know what I mean? It's just there. It's just about like knowing, learning from your father or your grandfather, and like keep passing to generation to generation. You start to understand. So it was like a beautiful kind of experience. But in the contrast was the Himalayas. I had the chance to go to Tibet once. Traveling, one thing I noticed, like Tibet is basically a desert in the high altitude. So air is scarce, like water is scarce, like the green is scarce. Like you don't have much green, you don't have much water. Everything is very tough, but people still live in connection with nature. It's like a very old tradition of living in connection with nature, knowing how to find water, knowing how to raise green from this, know how to like cattle. So like it's just like two opposite, two streams that really show me that there's a potential world in any direction in this planet. So it's just a matter of like learning the techniques, passing on the ideas, taking care of the environment, understanding that life it's there in anything. I'm not much an urban guy. I never really liked big cities, but the city of Wuhan like really changing my perspective. Beijing also like this park lifestyle, but in Wuhan like there's like two parks that really caught my attention, really changed my life. That's like the Donghu Park. You have this huge park like around a huge lake, and then you have this park by the Yangtze River, which is the biggest river in the world. So this show me that there is a potential life of big cities with nature. But yeah, I still in shock. It's like kind of a reservoir, a place that like I find energy, but I still thinking if that's the best way.
All right, thank you so much. And I really want to add something to what you said about Tibet, about Xizang. I personally like Xizang very much. I've been there, I've visited there for 5 times or 6 times, I can't remember, but many, many times. Xizang has just a little bit of everything, and not only desert. It has, deserts, it has glaciers, which are melting recently in recent years. And also, to my surprise, it also has a tropical forest that's in Ningxi City. So from glaciers to tropical forest, you can't imagine. I mean, for me, the first time I was there, I couldn't imagine that these two things can, exist together in one province. So Xizang is really big, and I think that is one of the best places in China that can, reflect human nature coexistence. Yeah, and Mustafa, what is your ideal place?
Yeah, I think it's a real difficult question, but in China also there are lots of province that are really beautiful. But I've been here for 9 months and I'm just trying to discover. But if I pick up somewhere, probably like I would prefer to select New Zealand, because New Zealand is a stunningly beautiful country that is often regarded as a heaven for nature lovers. Like we are living in big cities, we are always in rush around us, surrounding big, buildings, long buildings. So, but, I like nature. So that's why I do like New Zealand. New Zealand is a strong emphasis on, sustainable tourism. Many tourism operators and accommodations follow eco-friendly practices, and including waste reduction, energy conservation, and responsible wildlife viewing. The Department of Conservation manage several great walks, which are multi-day hiking trails in some of the most scenic and prescient part of the country. These walks offer a sustainable way to experience New Zealand's natural beauty. New Zealand also making efforts to reduce waste and promote recycling. Many communities have recycling programs, and the zero waste movement is gaining momentum there. And the country has a reputation for having some of the world's cleanest and safest drinking water sources, which strict regulations to maintain water quality. So that's why I think I would prefer say New Zealand, because I really love natures. Of course, in China there are lots of many provinces I will start to discover, and so yeah, these are my opinions.
All right, thank you so much. Happy adventuring in China. And thank you so much, guys. You gave me a lot of inspirations about where my next trip will be. You showed me so many different places, beautiful places. I kept them all down, you know, Rome, Qingdao, Singapore, Amazon forest, Xizang, Wuhan, New Zealand. I would definitely, you know, add them to my travel destination list to see how beautiful our world can be. Well, now let's read some of our online comments. There are a lot of people leaving comments online. I'm reading a YouTube comment. It is really long. Let me quick go through it. So this audience, he said he is not convinced that human interference will make any significant difference on climate crisis, and that there is nothing that we can at this time to fix the climate. We most likely won't be able to fix anything for the next 2 centuries. We must shift our focus to deep adaptation to cope with a world potentially 10 to 12 degrees Celsius warmer while continuing to industrialize, develop economically, and advance technologically. So do you agree with him on this? What's your opinion?
Well, I think that's a good point in some ways. I don't completely disagree, but I also would hope that we can do something before it's too late, that it's irreversible. I think that you could also see this as a why should we keep doing things that are hurting the nature and accelerate the reaching 10 and 20 degrees. And at the same time, I think that while we are trying to restore and maintain the same temperature, we are also adapting to it at the same time. So I think restoring and adapting go hand in hand. So I think that, yes, you could think that you cannot do anything to go back in time, but you can do something to not make it worse. And also you can make something to prevent it from going so fast. And I think that would be my point of view on that. Like, yes, it's really hard, it's really complicated, and if not everyone agrees on it, there's not much change is going to happen. But at the same time, I feel I can see people that are taking action and they're trying to do many different things to restore nature. And if we cannot restore it, at least we can try to preserve it as it is right now, and try our best. So why give up on something if you just think it's too late? You can just try and save as much of what is left, you know?
Thank you very much. That's a really, really good point. Now, gentlemen, do you have anything that you want to share, you want to add on this comment?
Yeah, go ahead, Renato. You can go ahead.
I'll make the compliment.
Okay. Like, I think it's not late. We can reduce the greenhouse gas emissions. You know, we can increase the use of renewable energy sources. Also, we can make more cooperation, you know, with other countries, and this is really important. And you know, we need to give more education and awareness to the public. That we can do actually. Absolutely, I'm not agree with that. It's not late. Still, we can do a lot of work.
All right.
Well, Yeah, in my point of view, it's just like a simple scientific fact. Like when first men start or women start saying that the world was around, it took a lot of burned people to really humankind learn that there was a fact. And global warming is the same process. We've been living the last 20 years a political debate of like if it's real or not. So it's gonna take a while. But one positive thing that humankind learns things in accumulation. We accumulate together, then finally we jump. So we just have to keep working for this accumulation of knowledge come so we can jump to a next level and overcome this challenge that's approaching. There is nothing impossible for humankind. It's not for the last that we've been here and like overcoming challenge. So we just have to keep making debates like this that we had tonight. So congratulations for this debate. And like, I really believe that we have to keep spreading the words.
All right, thank you so much. Yeah, so to this audience who just commented, if you're still there, I hope this, answered your question. If there's any, just don't give up so fast. Actions matter. Now, thank you so much, guys. Now we have come to the end of this episode's chat room on building a green planet. Now, throughout our conversation tonight, we have witnessed the alarming consequences of natural disasters. We've also recognized the potential of green development and the pivotal role it plays in mitigating such disasters. We explored the importance of embracing renewable energy sources, and most importantly, we acknowledged the power of youth action in creating a sustainable future. So I want to express my heartfelt appreciation to our guests, Andrea, Mustafa, and Renato, for sharing your insights and perspectives. And thank you also to all the audience members who actively participated, listened attentively, and engaged in our chat. Each and every one of you has the power to make a difference in building a green planet. Now, thank you once again, and let us go forth with the shared vision of making our world a greener and healthier place for generations to come. Now, goodbye and take care. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much. Bye.